Hello everyone and welcome to this another episode of 2D Fundamentals. My name is Kasanas. Guys, this is really the first episode here. The first one was really just an introduction, and this is really the first episode we're going to take a look at this topic, this series. And I'm building this series as reference videos or as additional videos for a class I'm teaching this year. And I really want to teach this based on several different assignments rather than actually going through the order, the proper order of the 12 principles. We're going to look at this in a bunch of different assignments. This first assignment is to create a rolling ball, and that sounds really easy, and a lot of you are thinking, man, I didn't come here to learn how to make a rolling ball. I came here to learn how to make a character walk. Well, you know what? You got to learn to walk before you can run. All right, in this case, you got to learn how to roll before you can walk. So guys, what we're going to do is take a look at a constantly rolling ball. That's where our goal is to make a ball roll constantly across the screen. All right, let's get started. Okay guys, our goal for this exercise is to have a ball travel from one side of the screen to the other. That's our goal, to have it go through and move at a constant rate, traveling from one side of the screen to the other. In doing so, we're going to be focusing on 2 of the 12 principles of animation. Now, once again, the principles of animation originally came from a book called The Illusion of Life, Disney Animation, written by Ollie Johnston and Frank Thomas. If you're looking for a more modern version that contains much of the concepts within the 12 principles, you can take a look at the Animator's Survival Kit by Richard Williams. Anyway, guys, we're going to be taking a look at 2 of the principles of animation today in this exercise. The first one we're going to be taking a look at is number 4, straight ahead versus pose-to-pose animation. And the second one is number 9, timing. Now, straight ahead versus pose-to-pose is kind of an odd one. It's kind of an odd one to be taking a look at here, particularly because in this case here we are having a constantly rolling ball. And straight ahead versus pose-to-pose animation is based on breaking down the animation into particular story points and extremes. Let's talk about it first of all. Straight ahead. Straight ahead animation or straight ahead action or pose-to-pose animation are both methods of animating. Straight ahead allows you to start at frame 1 and continue forward with frame 2, frame 3. You tackle each frame in order. All right. So, for example, if I was animating my ball rolling across the screen in straight ahead style, what I would do is start off with my blank screen. I would then turn on I would then have my first frame. I would then create my second frame of animation, my third, my fourth, etc., etc., etc. And I would do each one in order. This particular style or method of animating is most often used for things that when you're looking for improv, when you're looking for things to be organic and to grow organically in nature. So you might look at it for things like fire or water or splashes, things like that. And that's not necessarily always the case. That's often what it's used for, but what it gives you is this organic feel to your animation. Your animation grows organically as you're creating it because you're not planning ahead. You haven't planned ahead what the next frame is or even where you're trying to get to. Alternatively, there is the idea of pose-to-pose animation. In pose-to-pose animation, and this is why it's kind of a bad idea to have used this particular exercise to first start discussing this idea. But in the idea of pose-to-pose, you start off by drawing particular frames. There's actually some terminology that's associated with pose-to-pose animation. Pose-to-pose, you start off by drawing your keyframes. Your keyframes are what really tell the story. So for in this case here, I would start off with a ball on one side, and this is a really bad example, and a ball on the other side, all right? These are my key poses. This is a terrible example. Anyway, these are my key poses. The ball is going straight across the screen at a constant rate. Now, normally, once I have the idea of my keys in place, I can go through and I can do what's called the extremes. The extremes are locations in your animation where they're the extreme points, basically, of your animation, where the object or the character is changing direction. It's the farthest point when they've come to a stop and they're reversing directions, for example. In this particular case, because I have a constantly rolling ball, I don't actually have any extremes. But for the sake of argument, let's just add one in here. I'm just going to simply add in, let me add in this one and this one. Let's pretend these are my extreme points. Okay, this is my extreme points in this particular situation, just for pretend. It's not actually. After I've got my extremes down, so I've got my keys, and my keys are telling the story, and I've got my extremes, and the extremes are really filling in the information about the story. They're giving life to this particular animation. After I've got the extremes in place, I can go on and I can work on my in-betweens. excuse me, my breakdowns. I can work on my breakdowns. My breakdowns link my extreme poses. Okay, so in this case here, if I wanted to link my extremes, I would maybe draw this next frame right here, and I draw this next frame here, and maybe this last frame. Okay, so in this case here, I've got all of my breakdown poses in place. Lastly, everything that's sort of left, and I need to fill in more information, everything else is called an in-between. So let's put in this last frame for now. Oops, not that one. This one here. Boop. That is my last in-between. And this tells my complete story, my complete ball rolling story. Okay? This is a terrible example of pose-to-pose animation because we don't actually have any extremes or anything else. But that gives you a basic idea of how pose-to-pose works. The great thing about pose-to-pose is it gives you a starting point and an ending point. It gives you where you're trying to get to. So in this case here, when I started off originally with simply my two keys, my two keyframes right here. I've got my key and my key. I know where I want to get to at the end. I know I'm going from here to here. The extremes will tell the story. Okay, the extremes tell the story of how I'm actually getting there. In this case here, because it's a constantly rolling ball and I've added in my extremes, we can see that right now I am moving in a pretty constant manner. This is telling the story. Once you've perfected your keys, you can move on to the extremes. Once you've perfected your extremes, you could move on to your breakdown poses, and once you've perfected your breakdown poses, you can move on to your in-betweens. This always gives you an exact location where you're trying to get to with each level of animation you're completing. You know exactly where you're trying to get to at any given point in time. And this will allow you to, there won't be any mistakes. There's far less mistakes you're going to be making. If you've perfected your keys and you know where you're trying to get to, you're going to make far less mistakes. If you've perfected your extremes and you have to go back and change something, you can go back and you can simply make a change to one of these keys before, one of the extremes before you move on to the next level. And it allows you to correct your work very, 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 very easily. Unlike straight ahead animation, if you make a mistake in straight ahead action, then you might have to go back and change several frames. Let's say you had a character who was trying to jump across a ravine or jump over something, and you've miscalculated in your straight ahead poses. You've miscalculated where he's going to land. You end up short of the jump. You have to redo most of that animation. In the case of pose-to-pose animation, we can go through afterwards, and we go through right away, and we know exactly how our character is going to land and exactly where he's going to land. All right, that is the concept of pose-to-pose animation. Now I want to talk a little bit about timing. Okay, guys, the second concept we're going to take a look at today is principle number 9, timing. And originally, if you go back to the Illusion of Life and you see what they said about it, the original idea behind this, or the original way they described it, was the personality and nature of an animation is greatly affected by the number of frames inserted between each main action. What that basically means is that the number of frames, poses, or drawings to complete an action is your timing. All right, however many frames, drawings, or poses you need to finish off the idea that you're trying to show in animation is the timing of it. Now, there's a little bit of terminology you may have to learn or may have to know before you can actually go on and talk about this further. Typically, in film animation, we work at 24 frames per second. That means that for every second of animation, there are 24 frames. Okay. In television, in North America, it's typically 30 frames per second or thereabouts, 30 frames per second. Now, animation can be done on ones or twos or mores. Okay, ones, twos, or mores, we'll say. And what that basically means, if you are animating on ones, that means you are drawing on every single frame. So in 1 second of animation, you are drawing, in a film animation, you are drawing 24 actual drawings, 24 actual poses, if you're animating completely on ones. If you're animating only on twos, then you are drawing on every other frame. So you're drawing on frame 1, 3, 5, etc. And obviously, what that does is it decreases the number of drawings you have to make to complete 1 second of animation. Obviously, if you're on ones, you need 24, and obviously, if you're on twos, you need 12. All right, so that greatly decreases the amount of animation that you actually have to do, the number of drawings you have to do. Now, when I say mores, threes or fours or sixes or 12s or whatever you're actually animating on, that was often done for economic reasons. And in the 70s and 80s, when they were producing large amounts of animation traditionally done, they would often animate on mores, threes or fours, etc. And that was basically to save time. these animators at the time were producing huge amounts of animation, and they only had a very, very small amount of time to do it. And obviously, to do so, to reduce the amount of time it took, they would animate on mores. I'll just call it mores. All right. Let's talk a little bit about ones and twos a little bit more. Whenever you're trying to have something look very, very fluid, or you have a very, very fast action, you're going to want to animate on ones. This gives you a lot of control, and there's a lot of visual stuff that's happening there. You need this for very, very fast action. Let's say a flurry of events, or scrambling or something like that. You're going to need to be animating on ones to make sure that you can get all of the information you require in visually. All right. If you've got yourself a slower action, you can animate on twos, and it works perfectly fine. It's perfectly acceptable. In fact, working on twos will often give a slower actions, a tiptoe, a sneak, something like that, or something that's occurring slowly. It'll make it look smoother. It'll actually make it look smoother when you're working on twos, and that's because traditionally there was an idea that's called boiling, and basically if you had a slow action and you are moving something very, very slowly over time, and you are animating on ones, the line quality on any given drawing may decrease. The line quality might be different. The width, etc., might be different. And what that does is it causes an idea called boiling. And basically, if you have something that's holding in place and you're drawing the same drawing over and over and over again, just drawing over the lines over and over and over again, the quality of your line's not always going to be exactly the same. And if that's the case, then it looks like the animation's quivering or shaking, something like that. And that's an idea called boiling. So if you have a slow action, you are oftentimes better off animating on twos. All right, anyway, let's go on now. Now, timing itself. So basically, like I said, timing is the number of frames, poses, or drawings that it takes to complete an action. And obviously then, this translates directly into the speed of any given action. If you are using fewer frames, the action itself is occurring faster. If you're using more frames, then the action itself is occurring slower. And really and truly getting the correct timing. And this is why I think timing for me is one of the most important of the 12 principles. It's one of the most important for me anyway. If I was going to put them in order, timing was really up there. Getting the timing correct will make something follow the laws of physics. If something is done too quickly, it's too snappy, for example, it's moving at an unrealistic rate, it's going to be immediately noticeable. On the other hand, if you've added in too many drawings then or too many frames over a given action, then the animation itself can look floaty, as if it's floating to any given position as opposed to moving at a rate that you're expecting to see it at. All right? Timing and straight ahead versus pose to pose. All right? Let's take a look at how these things actually affect our drawings now, our ball rolling. All right? Let's take a look at it. Okay, guys, so let's get into applying what we just talked about. All right, and I want to do so through an assignment, a constant ball roll. I want the ball to roll from one side of the screen to the other side of the screen, basically in this direction. I want to roll across the screen at a constant rate. And I know some of you guys are thinking, oh my god, I came here and all I'm going to do is make a ball roll across the screen. Yes, that's what we're going to start with. Some of you are really excited about making your character run and jump and fight, but in all honesty, before you can learn to run, you have to learn to walk. And in the case of animation, before you can even learn to walk, you have to learn to make a ball roll across a screen at a constant rate. All right, this is going to apply the idea of timing. And like I said, for me, timing is one of the most important of the 12 principles. Okay, so in this exercise, let's say I wanted the ball to roll across the screen at a constant rate, and I want it to roll across the screen in under 1 second, just under 1 second, let's say. I know that I'm working at 24 frames per second. That's what I've decided to work at, is 24 frames per second. And that means that I require a minimum, if I'm working on twos, and I might as well, for the case of a constant ball roll like this, I might as well work on twos. For a constant ball roll, I need a minimum of 12 frames. All right, and if I want it to be under a second, I have to do it within less than 12 drawings. All right, I know my first drawing and my last drawing, the ball's off the screen. That's what I want to happen, the ball to roll completely off the screen. Now, if that's what I'm trying to do, I can start off by simply drawing my initial first ball when it's coming on the screen, and I can draw my last ball. So right now what I'm using is the idea of pose to pose, right? I've got my first and my last drawing exactly how I want this to end. I don't want it to be too far off one side. Using pose to pose in this situation is going to really allow me to decide the timing as well. All right, I know that in between these two keys, that's telling my story right now, in between these two keys, I'm going to have to fit an appropriate number of balls to have the ball roll constantly. And when I say the ball has to roll constantly, what exactly does that mean? and maybe I'm breaking this down too simply for you guys, but anyway, what that means is between any two consecutive drawings, the distance traveled has to be identical. All right, from frame, let's say this is frame 2, and I draw frame 3, and then I draw frame 4, well, the distance I travel between any of those frames has to be the same amount. If it's not the same amount, that means my ball is not moving at a constant rate. All right, it'll have a variable rate, and I don't want that. That's why the ball roll is a constant ball roll is a fantastic exercise for understanding timing. Okay? Once you understand that the ball has to travel the same distance between any two consecutive frames, you could build yourself what's called the timing chart. Now, a timing chart basically shows you the breakdown of exactly where the ball should be. Okay? Between any two of these points, this distance right here has to be identical. If it's not, my ball is not traveling at a constant rate. Once I have this timing chart, I can go in and I can align my balls appropriately with these little hash marks that I've drawn, and that will give me a constant rate. So let's say I go ahead, and at this point, if I just want to work straight ahead, I can go ahead and do so. I can draw each consecutive frame one after the other. All right, I've used straight ahead to do so. What I have to make sure is the distance the ball travels at any given point in time is identical. All right, that's what gives me the constant rate. Now, breaking this down even further, my ball has to rotate. My ball has a particular circumference, and obviously the distance it travels along its circumference is equal to the distance it's traveling along the ground as this ball rolls forward. Obviously, this ball as it rolls has to roll in this direction. All right, it's going to be rolling in this direction. All right, along this curve. The distance, or the amount it rotates, is exactly equal to the distance it travels. If it's not, and you've over rotated or you've under rotated, your ball is going to appear to slip along the floor. All right, that's going to cause slippage. That's called slippage. You don't want that. All right, now the problem is, unless you've got something built in and you've got yourself a 3D package or a package of some kind that allows the ball to rotate as you drag it a particular distance, you are going to have to eyeball the amount of rotation that occurs within your ball in order to get it working properly. Okay, but like I said, if it's not rotating at a constant rate and it's not rotating at the appropriate rate for the distance it travels, the ball itself is going to look like it is sliding along the floor and rotating, either under rotating or over rotating. Okay, all right guys, so once you're all done, once you've got that done, you should end up with let's grab this over here, with something that looks like this. All right, I guess let's just maximize this so we can see it. And this is mine. All right, so once you're all done, you should end up with a constant ball roll that's occurring just like this. All right, you can see that my ball is moving along at an appropriate rate. It doesn't speed up, it doesn't slow down. The rolling or the rotation of the ball itself looks appropriate for the particular distance it's traveling. I don't have any slippage or any sliding or anything like that. I am seeing every single frame in here. I am seeing every single frame, so it looks like it's a little bit jittery. There's no motion blur or anything like that we expect to see, but that's what we're going to end up with. All right, guys, so basically, let me get this out of the way. Basically, once you have all of your drawings done, how you actually convert it into an actual animation of some kind may differ depending on what kind of package you're using. If you're using something like Photoshop, like I'm using here, where you've got yourself a drawings that you've done, or GIMP, or anything else that you might have used, you're going to have to then save out your individual frames. All right, I'm going to save out one frame of my actual background. I'm going to save out each frame of my ball, and according to this particular size, it's going to all have the same size frame. I'm going to bring those images all into a program like Premiere or something like that, where I can set it all up on twos, and afterwards I can then produce my animation. All right, guys. In the next episode, I think we're going to take a look at a tool called Spine, and Spine is a program that I'm teaching at Sheridan, and it's a 2D animation program. It's not actually the best for this kind of thing, to be honest. It's not actually the best, but we're going to take a look at Spine. We're going to break it down. We're going to do an introduction to Spine, and then we're going to take a look at creating our first animation within that package. All right, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I want you guys to go right now, decide. I want you guys to make a ball roll, a constant ball roll that's going to take 2 seconds. Mine took 2 seconds to cross. This one that I end up creating here took 2 seconds to actually cross the screen. I want you guys to do the same thing. All right. I want you guys to make a ball roll that rolls at a constant rate and takes approximately, or no, that takes exactly 2 seconds to cross the frame. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know down below with a thumbs up. If you didn't, let me know that too. Like I said, this is videos that I'm doing for as a supplement to my class to make sure my students have access to it. I'm really hoping that you guys on YouTube also find this information useful. Let me know down below. I love to hear from you. Comments are always appreciated. Thumbs up, thumbs down, comments down below, and if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone.